Fast forward, ini kuma a channel so AG Policies Avenue. Podcast or start training because making headlines. Na jembre na idibi exomo ewa any dim ya hunrak se muse ene idiri kanya. You best so bit subscribe to the channel. His notification bell so share na afia for front so answer into me. Nke be ni di ma yanko political highways nim eje dem a enya sem potokra. Na ni nyina except eye Felix Ofosu kwache it mean a probe into a government accountability service na okay OXP ene a Jen Mensa EC chairperson omo petition omotimi forward e de koma CJ chief justice Bafo Boni back story no me no ka say abadwafo attract omo eyemu pensim mu a yagimra yedi bi exum e wo ha mesre say at this point in time yemo inra in seminim na yenjimu nchiremu yi GH stories GH politics avenue.
The special prosecutor and the electoral commissioner and her two deputies. Let me indicate that unlike the petition against the chief justice, the president's mandate in respect of the petitions against the OSP and the electoral commissioner and her two deputies ends with conveying the petitions to the appropriate quarter, which in this instance is the chief justice. That was done a couple of weeks ago. I think I announced same. A total of 10 petitions were received from various individuals and groups, 7 of them against the electoral commissioner and her two deputies, and 3 against the OSP, all of which have been sent to the chief justice. So the president has no role again in that, and in that regard, we cannot speak to it. I, as the president's spokesperson, cannot speak to it because I honestly do not know where things are. The chief justice's outfit will be in a good position to, maybe you may want to send inquiries to the judicial secretary for an update. The president will once again be called upon to act in that regard when the chief justice is done with determining prima facie whether there is a basis for it. When that happens, the chief justice will then set up a committee. In the case of the OSP, there are specific timelines that need to be met, but I don't think that similar timelines exist for the electoral commission and two deputies. So once a determination is made one way or the other on the veracity of the petitions so presented, then the president is mandated by law to act in accordance with the recommendations of the committees that will look into those petitions. So that is the process. But as I speak to you, there's nothing more for the president to do beyond waiting for the chief justice to do.
Martin Pebo is still with us. You are one of 9 persons who have petitioned. In fact, your petition is against the special prosecutor. The other 9 with the stand is against both the EC chair, her 2 deputies, and the special prosecutor as well. The government communications minister says it's out of the presidency. You would have to wait for the chief justice. Martin Pebo.
Yes, so Mr. Kansi. Yes, let's also quickly put in this and come to analyze. Yeah, Mr. Kwacho also put it out about 2 weeks ago on the program with Kemini Amano, your colleague, where he stated that they know the relationship Kissi as special prosecutor has with people who are close to Furiata, etc., further showing more angles of conflict of interest in this Kissi Ejabin's handling of the Furiata matter. When I read Kwachi Fosu's statement, it gladdened my heart that yes, even recent government sees the conflict of interest. Yes, for the avoidance of doubt, maybe I may take portions of it so that it helps. Yeah, it says that the Minister of State in charge of government communications, Felix Kwachi Ofosu, has claimed that Special Prosecutor Kissi Ejabin has an indirect relationship with former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta, right? Yes, so he was speaking on Accra-based TV station, TV3, etc. Then he says they know. And so that it doesn't give Kissi Ejabin that kind of independence. It doesn't show that there's an arm's length relationship between them. Good. So now I'm putting this, coming back also into the context of this question. Yes, it is a case that by Section 15 of the OSP Act, the president only has to forward the petition to the Chief Justice within 7 days of receipt. So can say the word is 7 days. So, for instance, in my case, we presented a petition on the 11th of December 2025. So it means that latest by 17th, yes, the president should have, not just should, the president shall, or he was under duty to make sure that latest by 17th, the petition should have left his office. So it means that he could have left on the 12th, 13th, etc. Right? Now, apart from that also, once the Chief Justice receives it, the Chief Justice also has 30 days to look at the petition. He may invite comments from Kissi or whoever the other person is, right? Within that 30-day period and come out with a decision. So if you add 30 to the 17th December, so you get 17th January. So meaning that 17th, is that Friday or Saturday? I think 17th January will be a Saturday. So that's the latest day by law that the Chief Justice must come out with a decision. And hopefully, if the Chief Justice makes a determination that the petition has some merit in order for Kissi to answer, it is not a final decision. It is for the Chief Justice to determine whether there are some issues. What we've said, are they serious enough for Kissi to open his mouth and answer? Once that is, then it means that we'll go to the second stage, which will be that within 14 days after the 30 days, that's after the prima facie, then the Chief Justice will have a committee set up, a 3-member committee, right? And then they would go into it, and they have 90 days to come out with a decision. So yes, this shows that President Mahama doesn't have an official role to play again beyond forwarding the petition. Okay, so the same too for the EC commissioners. Once it goes to the Chief Justice and the Chief Justice makes a determination, then the next thing is that the Chief Justice, if he says yes, there's a prima facie case, then he will set up the committee, 5-member committee, right? And that 5-member committee will have majority of this, what do you call them, justices, right? And then 2 other lay persons who are not MPs, who are not ministers, and then there's another word. Yes, and Article 146. So we are talking about Article 146. The reason is that the Commissioner of Šcrěweď has the same terms and conditions of a justice of the Court of Appeal. So if you want to remove the Commissioner of Šcrěweď, it's Article 146. And then the deputies have the conditions of service of High Court judges. And so the same thing, they too, they fall under Article 146 of the Constitution 1992. So that would be the procedure. They will go before a 5-member committee. But Kissi, if it goes through, if there's a prima facie determination that yes, he must answer, then he will go before a 3-member committee. So let's note critically that though at one point we say that the special prosecutor has the same terms and conditions as the justice of the appeal court under Act 959, that's the Office of Special Prosecutor Act. When it comes to its removal, the provisions are markedly different from Article 146. There's a vast difference between the removal procedure and Section 15 of the Office of Special Prosecutor Act,
yes,
and Article 146 of the Constitution.
And that is what we've been displaying on the screens for the benefit of our viewers as well. Martin Kpebu, thank you for joining us, private legal practitioner. Indeed, they give that assurance that they will not stand in the way of Ghana as regards the removal of Kenofriata and Sedinam Tamakula. You know, that's what the Foreign Affairs Minister is reporting to us. Now, would you impress on him to decide to come home and possibly cut short the ordeal that he is going through in the United States, which is an option for him, by the way, Prof?
Certainly, if I have a way of advising him, I will simply say, Ken, just come home. I'm not this your country. You know this country. You are not going to be thrown into the lion's den as soon as you arrive. I think that the state would be decent to him more than the Americans would, because America, when the poor people, they put chains around their hips, on their hands, and even on their legs. And if they put you on the plane, you'll be in chains until you arrive. That is inhumane treatment of people, but that's what America does. I don't think Ghana will have that. So I think we're more comfortable in his own country to be tried, if that's the case, by his own country, than this ordeal in the United States, or you are placed under detention. In Ghana, if you have been arrested, maybe for a day or two, you have been granted bail, as has been the case with all people who have been accused. Once you're on bail, you live in your home, the comfort of your home, and not in a solitary detention room in America. So I the lawyers will find a way, for Khan to be back home and live a more decent life. He will go to court, of course. If in the wisdom of the justice system, he deserves to be punished, I'm sure he will have to be punished, no doubt. But to just try to skip this basic accountability of public officials, I think he's just worsening his case. But having said that, again, let's remember that so far as we know from his lawyers, he was there on medical grounds. But if the medical condition was that severe, I don't think the U.S. government or the state will have placed him in a detention. Mm-hmm. Of course, there may be health facilities, but it's not the same as perhaps you get elsewhere. So I seriously think that Ken is better off coming home to face the situation and as a patriot, face the consequences.
I see. Professor Bawumia, thank you very much for your thoughts. And let me bring in Martin Kpebu, who's a private legal practitioner as well. He's been on the heels of the special prosecutor for, in his words, allowing Ken Ofori-Atta to leave the jurisdiction. And in fact, his petition for his removal, which is we're going to be getting into as our next topic. But Counsel, good evening. Thank you for joining us. You have consistently made the point that to the extent that Ken Ofori-Atta may have some business interest or investment in the United States, the United States government may consider that business interest and not easily release him to Ghana if eventually the court so decide. But taking into consideration that position that you had and what the Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa is saying today, that the U.S. has assured and giving that assurance that they are not going to stand in the way of Ghana regarding the removal of Ken Ofori-Atta, would you concede?
Yes, Mr. Okansi. So, what I said is still holds. You see, he's saying they will not block it. This is the ambassador. The ambassador doesn't have the final say. This is the first thing. That factor that he has investment is something I'm saying we should always avert our minds to. I've never said that because of it won't happen. I said so it complicates the problem, and that one is true. Somebody who has vast investment in the U.S. as against another potential deportee who has nothing, maybe was just an employee, he has not gathered much. Between the two, obviously the investor will carry more protection. Yes, that one is no-brainer. And like I keep saying, America is attracting investors. So Trump rolled out a new visa scheme for people to come in. You contribute $1 million, you get citizenship, those things. So we cannot just discount it. So this is the ambassador giving his assurance that they will not block it. Yes, so that's heartwarming, but it doesn't mean that we shouldn't analyze. And remember, that was before the ambassador made the statement. So you see, like, we're doing a SWOT analysis, which ones are strengths, which ones are weaknesses, our opportunities, and then threats. So SWOT kind of analysis. Yes, that's what we would have to always do in a public discourse like this, because it would have looked shallow if we just sat down and say, oh, the Americans will bring. No, we can't do that. We have to analyze based on what we know. Now, the next level of analysis we should be taking notice of is that this is the ambassador giving the assurance. Don't forget, President Trump is the one who has the final say. And today, you know, Trump is one person that if there's anything at all that is certain about Trump, it is the fact that you cannot always predict him. He can say something today, tomorrow he changes his mind. He says something A today, tomorrow it is B. B tomorrow, the next day it changes to C. So it's a good start with the ambassador giving this assurance. But remember that the ambassador doesn't have the final say. And even if Trump assured him today, President Trump can change his mind tomorrow. So for me, in this game, the day I will celebrate will be when the plane takes off from Washington. I'll still not celebrate until it lands in Ghana, and then Ufuriata is handed over to us. Yes, that's the best way to deal with this matter. Yes, because you cannot predict President Trump, but we are just hoping that he will do us good, he will do us right by bringing down Ufuriata. And the ambassador's assurance is also a sign that they've noted how this issue is taking a national profile and a national concern. So you see what I've been saying, that we'll go and picket at the U.S. Embassy, etc. So they've seen that we've been dragging their name into the debate so far, letting them know that, look, this extradition is a highly political matter. It's not just legal. Let's repeat. When a judge makes an order for a suspect or an accused person to be extradited, the judge's order is not the final decision. It is subject to what the Secretary of State, that's the U.S., he's our equivalent of Okujeto, the foreign minister.
Right.
And the foreign minister takes his instructions from the president. So that's why I said so. It all depends on Trump. So in the U.S., when it comes to extradition, it's not just a legal matter. It's actually equally political. When you are done with the legal proceedings, the politician, the Secretary of State, or call him the foreign minister, and ipso facto the president, will also have a look at it and decide finally. So this let's continue to watch and continue to hope that they will do right. And Ghanaians, let's continue to put pressure. So the assurance by the ambassador is good, but it doesn't.
On that point, you heard Professor Bafajimendia says, well, if he had the ears of Kenneth Furiata's lawyers and maybe he himself, he would recommend that he should just give up the fight, come home and account for his period or his tenure in office as finance minister, because he'll be treated better back home in Ghana than the detention center where he is now. Would you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely. And you remember, I made that same point on Saturday on the key points, and I saw that MPP members were very happy with me. When I went to social media, I saw a lot of insults and trolls, but I've developed a tough skin. It's okay, not just a tough skin. In a democratic country such as ours, it's to be expected that people would disagree, even to the extent of throwing invectives, etc. Well, sometimes it's painful, but it's part of the process. So people disagree vehemently, but that is the point. And I actually made the point that President Akuffo, who is a brother to Ufuriata and who gave Ufuriata the position of finance minister, must step in and call Ufuriata to order. Akuffo must call Ufuriata to order that he should come home as soon as possible and make it known to Ghanaians that that is what is done. And indeed, since Saturday, I've extended the call onto the MPP itself, the New Patriotic Party, because look, what is happening currently is that Ufuriata is embarrassing Ghana. We are losing standing in the international arena. That here is a country that it paints a picture of a bad system to the extent that a former finance minister has fled. He doesn't want to come and stand trial. He doesn't want to face our criminal justice system. Do you see that by doing that, indirectly, he's casting aspersions on our criminal justice system? it is giving the impression that our justice system is not good. That's how come he's running away. You can't do away with all of these arguments. Once he has run away, once he has fled, yes, as you keep analyzing, naturally there will come a point where you'll be thinking that, or it has something to do with the criminal justice system, etc. So you see that Oforiatta is dragging everybody down, including our criminal justice system, and indeed the whole of Ghana. And so that's how come the MPP has to step into and call Oforiatta to order and make it known to us publicly that they've called Oforiatta to return. Because you see, what is our crime? We voted for MPP to come into office in 2016 and then 2020. So Oforiatta got the opportunity because MPP came into office. Then after all the privileges, the perks and everything he enjoyed, now the pay he's giving us is embarrassment. Such monumental international embarrassment. Why? We don't deserve that. What did we do to deserve such embarrassment when we only gave him an opportunity to serve? And then he has decided to embarrass us. So it's not fair at all. So we should look at it from that international perspective, that the embarrassment is too much for us as a country. So MPP and Akuffo must step in and drag Oforiatta down immediately.
Well, as you indicated, some disagree with you on that call, but thank you. That's what's coming up next. We're getting to the next issue, which I'm going to stay with you on, Council, please, because you are one of 10 persons who have petitioned the presidency for the removal of this.
We and some who team course watch on also. That's an so bad, and they are dumbi adumiania. Unia, the best sample room, not your smoke consum.